The bridge of the EHS Defiance, Earth's last remaining capital ship, was eerily calm as Admiral Kael Varyn stared at the tactical display. The alien fleet, the Axiari Imperium, blanketed the hologram, an unrelenting mass of warships that dwarfed anything humanity had ever faced. Their weapons, their ships, even their biology outclassed humanity in every measurable way. Yet here they were, standing before the brink. Humanity's end. The silence was broken by the crisp, multitonal voice of an Axiari envoy transmitting from the Defiance's central view screen. The creature's translucent form pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, and its telepathic speech resonated directly in the minds of the crew. "Humans," the envoy began, its voice devoid of emotion. "Your resistance is illogical. Your survival is untenable. Surrender and be assimilated. Defiance will result in total annihilation." Admiral Varyn, his grizzled face carved with years of battle-worn resolve, tilted his head and let a faint, humorless smile cross his lips. His voice, sharp and calculated, carried the weight of Earth's legacy. "Assimilation?" he echoed, his tone almost mocking. "So what? We give up our independence, our identity, and join your grand empire like cattle?" The envoy's pulsing light patterns shifted, indicating irritation. "We offer preservation. A fragment of your species may persist as part of the Axiari whole. Refuse, and your kind will cease to exist." Varyn leaned forward, his hands gripping the edge of the tactical console. "So, you're telling me you want us to die?" The envoy's patterns flickered, confusion creeping into its otherwise cold demeanor. "We present a rational choice. You stand no chance against—" Varyn cut it off with a sharp laugh. It wasn't the laugh of a man resigned to defeat, but the sound of someone who had just been presented with the most absurd challenge. "Oh, you poor bastards. You really don't understand, do you?" The alien envoy hesitated for a split second, a micro-expression of uncertainty. "Explain." Varyn gestured to the holographic display. "You've studied us for what, a few decades? Cataloged our ships? Analyzed our tactics, and decided we're no threat. But you missed the one thing that matters." "And what is that?" the envoy demanded. Varyn straightened, his voice rising with conviction. "We're not fighting to win. We're fighting because you gave us no choice. You're about to find out what happens when humanity's back is against the wall." The envoy blinked its bioluminescent patterns rapidly. "Your bravado is meaningless. Your fleet is diminished, your technology inferior." "And that," Varyn said, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper, "is exactly what makes us dangerous. You see, we don't fight fair. We become the fight." With that, Varyn slammed his fist down on the console, cutting the transmission. The bridge fell silent again, every crew member frozen in the aftershock of his words. The tactical officer, Lieutenant Rhea Talon, spoke first. "Sir, their fleet outnumbers us 1,000 to 1. Even with our defensive grid, we can't hold them off indefinitely." Varyn turned to her, his steely eyes burning with resolve. "Then we won't hold them off, we'll cut through them." Talon blinked. "Cut through? With what?" He smiled grimly. "With every ounce of human ingenuity, grit, and sheer bloody-minded determination." The crew moved with renewed purpose. Orders were relayed, systems came online, and the Defiance's engines roared to life. The ship shuddered as it aligned for its final maneuver, a headlong charge straight into the heart of the Axiari formation. "We're taking the fight to them," Varyn declared. "Target their command cluster. If we can sever their hive network, the rest will fall into disarray." Commander Kane Orlan, his second-in-command, hesitated. "That's suicide." "No," Varyn corrected. "That's survival." The EHS Defiance surged forward, leaving Earth's orbital defenses behind. The Axiari fleet moved to intercept, their precision-perfect formations closing like a steel trap. Varyn's voice rang out across the bridge. "All hands prepare for combat. We're about to remind the galaxy why you never corner a human." The EHS Defiance hurtled toward the Axiari fleet, its engines blazing against the void. Admiral Kael Varyn stood firm at the center of the bridge, his gaze fixed on the tactical display. The Axiari formation shifted like a living organism, a vast, synchronized net tightening around the lone human vessel. The odds were staggering, yet no one on the bridge dared waver. "Incoming fire," Lieutenant Talon called out, her fingers dancing over the control panel. "They're targeting us with their frontline plasma arrays." "Brace!" Varyn barked. The ship shuddered violently as emerald streaks of plasma raked across the Defiance's shields. The barrier flared, absorbing the brunt of the assault, but not without cost. "Shields down to 60%, Talon reported. "Hold steady," Varyn ordered, his voice unwavering. "Redirect auxiliary power to reinforce the forward grid." Commander Kane Orlan stepped closer, his expression grim. "Sir, they're concentrating their fire. We'll be overwhelmed before we get within range of their command cluster." Varyn didn't flinch. "We don't need to hold the line, Kane. We just need to break through it. Prep the Echelon drones." The mention of the drones drew murmurs from the crew. The Echelon project had been humanity's last-ditch effort to develop an edge against technologically superior foes. Each drone, a marvel of human ingenuity, was equipped with adaptive AI capable of hacking, disrupting, and dismantling enemy systems in real time. "They'll never see it coming," Varyn muttered, his lips curling into a faint smirk. The tactical display flared as the Axiari formation tightened. Their ships moved with inhuman precision, coordinating firepower to corral the Defiance into a kill zone. "Deploy the drones," Varyn commanded. A series of metallic spheres launched from the Defiance's underbelly, scattering into the void like seeds on the wind. Each drone activated mid-flight, their sleek forms glinting as they propelled themselves toward the enemy lines. "Drone systems online," Talon confirmed. "They're initiating infiltration protocols." On the display, the Axiari formation faltered. Ships that had been moving in perfect unison suddenly slowed, their synchronized maneuvers breaking apart. Flickering energy fields and erratic firing patterns rippled through the fleet. "Direct hits on their neural relays," Talon reported, her voice tinged with excitement. "The drones are scrambling their hive network." "Good," Varyn said. "Let's give them a taste of chaos." The Defiance surged forward, plunging into the disarrayed enemy formation. Human gunners seized the opportunity, unleashing a torrent of precision fire that tore through the Axiari ships. Explosions rippled across the void as once impenetrable vessels crumbled under the assault. "They're breaking," Orlan said, disbelief coloring his tone. "Their cohesion is falling apart." "Don't get comfortable," Varyn warned. "The hive will adapt if we give them time. Focus all fire on the command cluster. If we take out their central node, the rest will collapse." The tactical display zoomed in on the cluster, a dense arrangement of massive Axiari ships, each one pulsing with the bioluminescent patterns of their hive-mind network. It was the heart of their fleet, protected by layer upon layer of defenses. "Plot a course," Varyn ordered. "Straight through." Orlan hesitated. "We'll be exposed the entire way. Shields won't hold against that much firepower." Varyn's eyes burned with resolve. "Then we'll give them something else to shoot at." Talon set the remaining drones to create a decoy signal. "Make them think we're coming from everywhere at once." "Yes, sir," Talon said, her hands flying across the console. The drones scattered, emitting false signatures that mimicked the Defiance's systems. On the Axiari displays, the human ships seemed to multiply, dozens of identical signals converging on the command cluster from every direction. The Axiari fleet reeled, their precision unraveling further as they redirected fire to chase ghosts. "Now's our chance," Varyn said. "Full speed ahead." The Defiance roared through the chaos, its weapons blazing. The ship weaved through the debris of shattered Axiari vessels, its engines burning bright as it closed in on the command cluster. "Enemy dreadnoughts moving to intercept," Talon warned. Varyn's voice was sharp. "Target their stabilizers. Disable, don't destroy. Let their own momentum tear them apart." The Defiance's gunners unleashed a concentrated volley, striking the massive dreadnoughts at their weakest points. The ships lurched, their stabilizers failing, and spiraled into each other with catastrophic force. "Path is clear," Orlan shouted. The command cluster loomed ahead, its glowing hulls pulsating like a living heartbeat. Varyn's voice cut through the bridge. "Prepare the antimatter warhead. Target the central node." A heavy silence fell over the crew. The antimatter warhead was humanity's deadliest weapon, a device powerful enough to obliterate anything in its radius. It was a last resort, one that could either end the battle or doom them all. "Warhead armed," Talon confirmed, her voice steady despite the tension. Varyn's fingers gripped the armrest of his chair. "On my mark, fire." The Defiance charged forward, the weight of humanity's survival resting on its battered hull. Alarms blared as the Axiari fought desperately to repel the lone ship. Varyn's voice rang out, calm and commanding. "Fire!" The warhead launched, streaking toward the central node like a comet of pure destruction. The antimatter warhead streaked through the chaos of battle, a radiant beacon of humanity's defiance. Every second stretched into eternity as the crew of the EHS Defiance held their breath, watching the trajectory on the tactical display. The Axiari command cluster, a pulsating nexus of bioluminescent energy and intricate hive nodes, loomed ahead. "Impact in 5 seconds," Lieutenant Talon announced, her voice steady despite the growing tension. On the display, Axiari interceptors scrambled toward the warhead, their sleek forms darting through the void in a desperate attempt to stop the weapon. "They're closing in," Commander Orlan called out. "They'll intercept before it reaches the target." "Override the warhead's propulsion," Admiral Varyn commanded. "Shift to evasive maneuvers." Talon hesitated for only a heartbeat before executing the order. The warhead altered its trajectory with a sudden, erratic twist, weaving through the barrage of incoming plasma fire and narrowly avoiding an Axiari interceptor. 3 seconds, Talon said, her voice tight. The warhead penetrated the final defensive layer, streaking toward the command cluster's central node. Then it struck. The explosion was instantaneous, a blinding flash of annihilation that tore through the Axiari nexus with unimaginable force. The antimatter reaction consumed everything within its radius, obliterating the central node and the surrounding command ships in a cascade of brilliant, white-hot energy. The tactical display flickered as the command cluster's signal vanished. The Axiari fleet, once a seamless, synchronized machine of war, fragmented. Ships drifted aimlessly, their movements erratic and disjointed. Without the hive-mind to guide them, the precision of their assault dissolved into chaos. "They're collapsing," Talon reported, astonishment in her voice. "The entire fleet is falling apart." The bridge erupted in cheers, but Admiral Varyn raised a hand, silencing them. "It's not over yet. They're disorganized, but they're still dangerous. Focus fire on the remaining dreadnoughts and escorts. We finish this now." The Defiance surged forward, its guns blazing as it tore through the scattered remnants of the Axiari fleet. Human ingenuity and adaptability shone in every maneuver, every calculated strike. The crew worked as one, their actions precise and unrelenting. An Axiari battleship, its luminescent hull dimmed and flickering, attempted to charge its primary weapon. Before it could fire, the Defiance's main cannons unleashed a volley of plasma rounds, piercing the enemy ship's reactor core. The resulting explosion sent shockwaves rippling through the battlefield. One by one, the Axiari ships fell. Some attempted to retreat, their engines sputtering as they fled into the void. Others fought to the bitter end, their alien resolve no match for humanity's sheer determination. "Status report," Varyn demanded as the battlefield quieted. 78% of the Axiari fleet destroyed, Talon replied. "The remaining ships are retreating into deep space, no sign of regrouping." Commander Orlan exhaled deeply, his shoulders relaxing for the first time. "They're running. They're learning," Varyn corrected, his tone grim. "And they'll be back. But next time, they'll remember this day." The Defiance drifted among the wreckage, its battered hull a testament to the battle's intensity. Fires still burned in the distance, casting flickering shadows across the void. The crew moved with weary efficiency, tending to the wounded and repairing damaged systems. Varyn stood at the center of it all, his gaze fixed on the tactical display. Despite the victory, his mind was already turning to the future. The Axiari had underestimated humanity, but this was only the first battle. The galaxy had seen what humans were capable of when pushed to the brink, and it would not forget. "We'll need to prepare," Orlan said, his voice low. "If they come back with reinforcements." "They will," Varyn interrupted. "But so will we." The Admiral's voice carried the weight of conviction, and the crew rallied around him. Humanity had survived, not just through strength or strategy, but through the unyielding will to endure. In the face of annihilation, they had proven that they were more than survivors. They were fighters. As the Defiance turned toward Earth, the shattered remnants of the Axiari fleet fading into the distance, Varyn allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. Humanity had shown the galaxy what it meant to defy the impossible. And if the Axiari, or any other species, dared to challenge them again, they would find themselves facing the full measure of human resolve. "Set a course for home," Varyn said, his voice steady. "We've earned it." The crew moved to comply, the hum of the engines rising as the Defiance accelerated into the void. The stars stretched into streaks of light as the ship entered hyperspace, leaving behind a battlefield that would be remembered for generations. But Admiral Kael Varyn knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning. The EHS Defiance emerged from hyperspace, Earth's brilliant blue orb hanging in the darkness of space like a fragile jewel. On the bridge, Admiral Kael Varyn stood silently, his eyes scanning the tactical readouts. The battle had been won, but the scars of the encounter were evident. Burn marks across the ship's hull, flickering systems straining to hold together, and a crew teetering between exhaustion and triumph. Commander Orlan approached, his voice hushed. "We've transmitted the all-clear signal to Earth. They're preparing to receive us. The Coalition has already requested a report on the Axiari engagement." Varyn turned to his second-in-command, his expression unreadable. "The Coalition will want more than a report. They'll want to know how we succeeded where they thought we would fail. They'll want to know what makes us dangerous." Orlan frowned. "And what will you tell them, sir?" Varyn allowed himself a faint, grim smile. "The truth. That humans thrive where others falter. That we are not bound by logic alone, but by something more primal. And that, when the galaxy pushes us to the brink, we don't break. We fight back." The Defiance docked at one of Earth's orbital stations, its battered frame a testament to the battle it had endured. The crew disembarked to cheers from station personnel, their weary faces breaking into smiles for the first time in days. But Varyn's thoughts remained focused on the message the Axiari would take back to their empire. In the debriefing chamber, a holographic image of Earth's high command shimmered into view. The commanders, representing the remnants of humanity's fractured alliances, listened intently as Varyn detailed the encounter. "Admiral," one of the senior officials interrupted, his tone wary. "You took extraordinary risks engaging the Axiari fleet. The destruction of their command ship, that wasn't just strategy, it was a declaration." Varyn leaned forward, his voice calm but unwavering. "It wasn't a declaration, it was a promise. The Axiari thought they could erase us with superior numbers and technology. They believed they understood humanity. They were wrong." The room fell silent. The officials exchanged uneasy glances. Finally, a senior commander spoke, his tone measured. "Do you believe they'll return?" Varyn's gaze hardened. "Not believe. No. The Axiari hive-mind will adapt. Their next attack will be stronger, more calculated. But now they understand what they're dealing with. They'll think twice before underestimating us again." Back aboard the Defiance, the Admiral gathered his crew in the central hangar. Hundreds of men and women, bruised and battered but alive, stood at attention. Varyn stepped onto the raised platform, his presence commanding. "You did the impossible," he began, his voice steady and resonant. "You faced an enemy that outnumbered and outgunned us, and you didn't flinch. You reminded the galaxy of what humanity is capable of." The crew erupted in cheers, their pride echoing through the hangar. Varyn raised a hand, silencing them. "But this is just the beginning," he continued. "The Axiari will return. Others will see our victory and wonder if they too can challenge us. They'll test our resolve, our strength, and our unity." He stepped forward, his gaze sweeping across the sea of faces. "And when they do, we will be ready. Because humanity doesn't just survive. We endure, we innovate, we overcome. the hangar filled with thunderous applause, a roar of defiance that seemed to shake the very walls. As the crew dispersed, Varyn remained behind, staring out the viewport at Earth below. The scars of the battle ran deep, but so did the lessons learned. Humanity's survival had never been guaranteed. It was earned every time through sacrifice and resolve. He knew the challenges ahead would be greater. The Axiari would return stronger and angrier. The Coalition would scrutinize humanity more closely, questioning whether they were a threat to the fragile peace. But Varyn also knew this. The galaxy had underestimated humanity once. They wouldn't make that mistake again. The Defiance powered down for repairs, its systems humming with latent energy. Deep in its hold, engineers worked on new weapons and defenses, creations born of desperation and brilliance, crafted for battles yet to come. And far beyond Earth's orbit, in the void of space, fragments of the Axiari fleet drifted aimlessly, a silent testament to humanity's defiance. Among the wreckage, Axiari scouts scavenged what remained, their hive-mind already processing and adapting. The galaxy was vast, full of ancient powers and unknown dangers. But now, it knew one immutable truth. Humanity was no mere player on the galactic stage. They were a force of nature, unrelenting and unpredictable. And they were just getting started.